yawning. A brand new day is dawning. Pull up the shade and let the sun come through. Good morning, glory. Spend about an hour underneath a shower and keep on singing like the birdies do.
They call the show Books of the Week. They call me Jeff, the producer. They call him Steve, the book critic. And I've been getting some messages lately about someone called us the Batman and Robin of streaming book criticism. And all I have to say about that is I'm getting a little tired of this crap. Okay. What's with the cord in my thigh, Steve? Anyway, hello, Steve Donahue in Boston.
Hello, everybody.
Nice to see you.
Your boy wonder days are firmly over. Okay.
No one wears the green trunks like me. Okay.
Once upon a time, you have pop-tarted your way out of green trunks.
Oh my goodness gracious! That's right. Steve's in Boston. He is our own Boston baked bean, and and I don't have a graphic for Wisconsin this week, so I'm spared.
Boston baked bean flavored candy? What on earth?
They don't sell that in Boston, by the way. They sell it everywhere but Boston.
They don't sell that in Boston.
So we buy it here in Wisconsin and say, hey, I feel like I'm in Boston. So there we are. What is this wacky show you've tuned into? Let me explain it to you a little bit.
Yes, our usual. We can explain.
Exactly. Yes, I will attempt to present evidence A, B, and C. We are doing this out of the Cedarburg Public Library, which is a library in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. And this show, this is fun for us because I have a real book critic right here at our disposal. And, or maybe I'm at his disposal. We'll figure it all out by the time the show is over. And Steve's been doing this for some time. You have been, give me a year, give me a date, give me a time span. How long have you been book criticizing?
It's been a long time. That's Johann Gutenberg came out with a printed book, and I said, you call that type font? It's been a long time I've been doing this.
The only man ballsy enough to criticize the Rosetta Stone. Anyway, usually what we do on this show is we will do new arrivals because as a library, we're getting them constantly. In fact, I got a large box last night with large books. And we will do traditionally a nonfiction, a fiction, and then a wild card. Well, today is the show that you folks seem to love and gnash your teeth on. This is an all wild card show, mostly because we're both grossly underprepared. So that's how that's going to go. Or maybe overprepared.
I point out once again, there is no other working critic in the world you could do this with.
I can't imagine.
Who wouldn't just sit there saying, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I like to think this is a good representation of what this show is for our viewers and for myself. There's Steve explaining to Junior, you should read a book.
What is that creature under the chair?
I was afraid he'd notice the cat. Let's just move on from that photo, shall we?
I thought sure when you said we're doing this out of, instead of saying the Cedarburg Public Library, I thought you were going to say out on parole.
Not yet.
It's only a matter of time.
But trust me, our critics very much wish we were. That's all I have to say. So all wild cards, I grabbed nearly 10 books. I think I was going to try to grab only 6, and I grabbed 10 because there was too much that I was interested in hearing what Steve thought of these particular titles. So lest we waste any more time on, I haven't done the obligatory hot dog shot. Here we go. These guys are going onward, off to war. The boys at the front. There we go. Our obligatory sausage picture of the week. Speaking of obligatory sausage, let's start with a nonfiction biography, I guess. This man right here, Tucker, by Chadwick Moore. This feels like a self-published. This is just a thin. I think it's very apropos that it's a very thin thing. Steve, have you had a chance to visit Mr. Carlson in this form?
I have. Yes, I have. And I don't understand.
Look at our boy here. Look at our boy. Aren't you proud?
Like anybody cares what Tucker Carlson was like when he was a normal person, before he self-radicalized. No one cares what he was like before then. They don't care whether or not he was, a good watercolor painter in Germany before he signed up for World War I. They don't care about what happened before he became a monster. They care about what he's done since he became a monster.
Yeah.
I read this partially because I was wondering what this writer is doing.
What can you say?
What can you say? And it turns out what you can do if you're this writer is just lie. You can just lie. That's what you can do.
That made it easy.
When it comes to a figure like Tucker Carlson, you can either lie or you can damn him. You can't do both. You can't tell the truth and have him come off the way he does in this book.
Sure.
First of all, I want to apologize for his apparently permanent decision to take on what many people have referred to as the confused dog look on his face. He uses there's an expression on his face. People have characterized it online for years as that he adopts a facial expression of a dog who has watched a magic trick.
Yes.
And as a proponent of those dogs, I want to apologize because that is what he's done. He and a few other of his fascist collaborators have adopted this same facial expression of the world made perfect sense and now it's all crazy. You'll see this also with Laura Ingraham. The woman who gave the Nazi salute at the 2016 Republican convention.
Yeah, yes.
We'll take that. That doesn't make much sense, doesn't it? That only works when there's an element of gray in the equation. And with Tucker Carlson, there is no more any element of gray.
No.
You could say there were elements of gray when he was doing a thoughtful opinion piece about whether or not gassing civilians is a good idea, or whether he did a thoughtful civilian piece on, well, is there something to be said for smoking?
Sure.
But when he goes to Russia and praises their dictator and their supermarkets and then gets a job with them,
he's Russian
agent. He is a Asian agent. We're not talking anymore about an American media celebrity who got somehow partially co-opted. The man is an open,
money
on the counter Russian agent.
Absolutely. Why do we give Tokyo Rose such a hard time? Because we love Tucker.
Have we really reached the point, even in the 21st century, where we can say as Americans that it's okay if an item on somebody's resume is that they're a fully paid public Russian agent? I would like to think that's not true. This book is only meant to blur that picture.
True.
Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Will people take this out of the library?
It's not doing well. I checked the numbers. I did check the numbers. Something about this particular tome is not attracting them. Maybe it's the cover.
I'd like to think it's that Wisconsin still has a majority of Americans. I would like to think that was the case. It is not a line item on a resume to be a paid public Russian agent.
Yeah.
That is not an item on a resume. That is, in fact, a federal crime.
Even in Wisconsin, that's frowned upon. In Wisconsin. So there we go. Let's put Tucker to bed. He's been up too long. And let's move on to this. I have made it a point, since I have been given the keys to the kingdom to buy fiction books for this particular library, to grab every Library of America new publication that comes along, because I love them. And so
they're also a great investment.
And we have Joanna Russ.
Oh, wonderful. There we
go. I don't know much about her, so educate me and others, Steve.
One of the greatest modern science fiction authors that most popular readers have never heard of. Most general readers, you get them to run down science fiction authors, they won't name Joanna Russ, they won't name Connie Willis, they won't know these names.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. And
please tell me it's not because they're female. Please tell me it's not because they're female.
Well, the viewers, the listeners of this podcast, the viewers of our YouTube channel know perfectly well that I have zero patience with the PC police.
Right.
Nevertheless, science fiction for its first 100 years was intensely sexist.
Yeah.
If you were a brilliant, incredibly talented woman, who joined a magazine or submitted to a magazine, you were told to make coffee.
Yes.
And maybe you would get published. Some of them did get published, but in this particular case, the social justice warrior mantra is absolutely true. They had to work sometimes it's hard.
Yeah. You knew we were in trouble when Harlan Ellison grabbed Connie Willis's left breast at the Hugo Awards or whatever. It's like, oh dear.
The doyen of publishing anthologies, which is where you broke into a
Yeah.
wider audience, in an anthology that was linking you to Arthur C. Clarke, so
Sure.
that you would get suddenly 1 million new readers. Joanna Russ had to face that.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that at all. That is not me being, a pinko commie Marxist leftist witch hunt, whatever. That is absolutely true.
Right.
But she's in the Library of America.
Yeah. First book is called The Female Man, who are about to ellipses, which I like that title quite a bit. One Strike Against God and the Complete Alex Stories, which again, I have no familiarity with any of this, but this will be a summertime read for me, and I'm looking forward to jumping in.
It's really, really good stuff. She does not forget to entertain, but she is really thoughtful.
Excellent.
As a science fiction writer, especially retrospectively now, The Female Man.
Sure.
Since the aforementioned SJWs, who I usually vilify, and they're easy to vilify because, like Tucker Carlson, they obviously lie. When you check on their blue checkmark, blue-haired official Twitter accounts, they are just offhandedly telling you that 65% of the adult population of the entire world is trans. Of course, that isn't how species work. but
axolotls, maybe. Humans, no.
How social contagion works. But it's not how species propagation works.
Right.
And
right. Absolutely.
Despite the fact that they say that obvious lie, it's less than 1%. The Female Man is all about questions of gender and sex.
Yeah, seems like that's the case.
Things, and it's amazingly good. So I don't know what I can't give you a straight up bloviating line one way or the other. I call balls and strikes is what I do.
Well, that is Library of America, and what's great about those books is they last a long time.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good additions to your library and also to your library.
Yeah,
I would imagine, because libraries take a beating. What I worry about, I know now a couple of people, a few people who work at libraries of various sizes and circulation desks and whatnot. They report something, and I'm wondering if it's true for you. They report the same thing, the same thinking that you're describing, which is that they buy the Library of America volumes because they're sewn binding, they're acid-free pages, they're really good collections, minimal editorial intervention.
Yeah,
and then they sit there and don't move. Is that true in your library?
That's why I brought this on today. It's been sitting, and I didn't like that, so I wanted to.
Why is that? Why is that?
I don't know.
An old vintage Ace mass market paperback of one of the Alex stories, it would go.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Why is it that Library of America look too much like reference works?
That could be. Yeah, it looks too. It looks too what this gal says as It looks too intellectual. Can't have that, but we're working on it. I have the biggest cheerleader over here in Cedarburg of the Library of America. I deserve a kickback. So, guys, cut your checks. You know where to find me. Got a little fiction.
One of those little video flashes for everything, don't you?
Happy trigger finger.
You're a practiced flasher.
Well, as we know, eating hot dogs causes no damage whatsoever. So I want to make sure that, I'm not spreading any rumors here. Moving on to a series and a frighteningly prolific author, Heather Graham, Secrets in the Dark. This is the Blackbird trilogy. Part of this massive Blackbird universe she's been quietly building that I hadn't noticed until like this week.
Yeah.
What's going on here, Steve? What is this?
Your in-house critic is not going to be much good this time. I have not followed this universe of hers at all. It's Heather Graham cut her teeth and earned her spurs as a romance writer.
Yes.
And as a romance writer, she's terrific. Absolutely terrific. But she or a combine of people have branched out, just like Nora Roberts has, and a few others. These old people who got their spurs as romance authors branching out into crime, thriller, police procedural, and large connected universe, interconnected universe, whether they do it as vampire fantasies or cop families or whatnot.
Yeah.
I tend not to follow that. When an author does that, whether it's Heather Graham or Nora Roberts, I tend not to make that jump with them. Probably for bad reasons. My reasoning is always, well, there are people who do that. There are people who they've been writing lots and lots of books in that genre, and you're blowing in from out of town.
So the critics are saying, stay in your lane.
I'm not saying these books could be good. I have not read them. I have not read the series at all.
Readers have a weird reaction, especially to Nora Roberts and her little dragon books and everything. They just sit. They do not move. It's like they don't want that out of Nora. And for better or worse.
I wonder if a lot of readers don't have the same reaction I do. Which is, if I want police procedurals, I'll go to someone I know has been doing it forever. I won't go to, I don't want to use the word carpetbagger. I mean, any author is free to stretch their wings, but
it is.
That was my reaction. It could be your patrons' reaction as well.
Oh, certainly, I think so. Well, our patrons, the Ladies Auxiliary, heard about what Heather's up to and Nora's up to, and they're not amused. So there we are.
Although we should point out, we should clarify when you post these pictures of all of these Ladies Auxiliary book clubs that they're our favorites.
They are. I love these people. No.
They're our favorites.
That is unironic. Everything I put up there is completely
unironic. We are not mocking those ladies. Those ladies have been the heart and soul, not only of libraries and book clubs, but of commercial book retail.
Sure. Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
When a commercial book retail market started 300 years ago, go to a white tweed-wearing male college professor of the history of the book and ask him about those early years, and he'll say, "Oh yes, Smollett, Fielding." No, it was the ladies who were buying books.
Right here.
It was the ladies who were buying books. Right here. The ladies who kept the book market flourishing of the whole rest of the
Let's go to B. Dalton.
But those are serious readers.
Yep. Let's go to B. Dalton, guys.
You tell me, the viewers who are watching this on YouTube, you tell me, if you have a little town and you're thinking about navigating the nightmare bureaucracy of opening a library, who do you want to do that? You want those ladies to do that.
Oh, yes, you do.
You do.
In fact, you want this to be the library board, Steve.
Well, somebody's going to have to go to City Hall and say, we want the permit for a building, we want an allotment in the budget, and we want a buying budget.
That is how this building here. In fact, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary for this particular building, which is pretty exciting. In July, there's all kinds of, I believe there'll be balloons for the kids and potentially some frosted cookies. So maybe some punch. So come on down. But 10 years, Cedarburg Public Library on Hanover, which leads me to early talk about the fact that we do have a Patreon that's quasi-active and live. Segue master here, and you could visit it. I don't know if you can spend any money there yet. I'm working on that. The finances are there. I noticed it seems to be the foundation is there. So if you do want to drop a few nickels or quarters in the jar,
you're springing a Patreon on me now, live on camera.
Oh hell yes. That's how we roll.
Cart before the horse, considering that I'm going to skim a good 90%.
Oh, wait a minute. No, you're going to tell me live on the air that you're going to swindle the friends of the Cedarburg Public Library?
We're not talking about any money either way.
I know, that's right, exactly.
It doesn't matter.
One trip to Duncan up the road, Steve. That's what you're going to do. Moving on to our titles here, and we'll get back to all those other topics later. I have a Booker Prize title that we just got in, actually, called How to Build a Boat. And what do you know about this, Steve? I don't know what.
I read it. I don't quite know what the author was trying to do in this book, and that is not usual. First of all, that's not usual for me because authors are really dumb. So what they're trying to do in a book is usually evident right away.
Even Elaine? Even Elaine's dumb.
I don't mean to pick on any author in particular, but if you could do real work, would you be an author? I mean, honestly. It's rare that I don't know what an author is trying to do in a book. And it's
I started it and I found it immediately off-putting, so I said, I'm going to put this off for a while.
Well, yes, it's modern contemporary so-called literary fiction, so one of the requirements is that it be off-putting.
Lovely.
I try to overlook that as a critic. I try to overlook that. It's a weird thing in the 21st century that we have just grown accustomed to the fact that you must overlook the fact that this has tons of grammatical errors, tons of syntactical errors, tons of typos, and obviously hates me as a person. In fact, it mentions me by name as that they hate. It's odd that we have trained ourselves to just overlook all these things. Those used to be absolute death wounds to us. But this book, it absolutely does not want to entertain the reader. Absolutely, it does not.
So we'll strike that off the to-do list of the author. What else was
to-do list? Is my point as a critic, and I think sometimes I'm the only critic left who is reminding people of this. That is the whole to-do list. If you you fire out of your MFA program saying, I don't care about entertaining you, get another line of work. That is the only job of novel. That is the only job of a novel, is to entertain you. If it does more than that along the way, fine.
Yeah. Cherry on top. Yeah.
I mean, you work at a library. You're in the book world. You're a diehard reader. When your superstar glamour puss son gives you the free time to do it.
Yes.
And you opened this book with not knowing anything, a completely blank slate.
True.
And it completely repulsed you. Not because it was poor. I think we can agree it wasn't poorly written.
There were subjects and predicates and punctuation, but there's nothing else that I could really claim as an attractor.
No. So again, I have to ask, in these wildcard sessions, I'm learning as much as I'm teaching.
Oh, lovely.
These contemporary works of literary fiction, do they have any readership at the library?
Middling at best, especially for a library like ours that has, as I've said before, this is the house of mystery. This is the house that mysteries built. People love thrillers. They love mysteries, which is a very classic, and not just, where mystery is going now, which is bizarre because it seems like all mysteries are being labeled as thrillers now, or.
Yeah.
I just noticed that this week when I was given a donation. I'm diverging here, but it's good. I was given a massive donation this week, like a big one, to buy a lot of mysteries for the library. And I struggled to find true mysteries because everything, even out of a publishing house like the Mysterious Press, are labeled everything as a crime novel, a thriller. Like, where are the mysteries? I mean, besides like a cozy. Cozies are all over the place, no problem. But I thought, no, I'm going to try to do some parlor mysteries and some traditional private investigating. Where are they?
The mystery genre has been almost entirely subsumed by cozies.
Yeah. Sure. Yes. Which I'm not against, and believe me, they do very well here. Very, very well.
They're long on atmosphere, but they're short on mystery.
Yeah. Right.
If you're reading a mystery novel for the murder mystery,
sure,
you're better off with Margaret Allingham, or
yeah,
Josephine Kay than you are with a cozy.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So that crew does not tend to make the jump to literary fiction.
No.
It's
I bring these in because I feel like I have to. Because we're a library. But like this here, if I get 10 circulations out of it, I'll be thrilled. 10.
Really?
Yeah. Which makes me scratch my head at the end of the fiscal year and say, do I keep doing this?
I can summarize what I think is the way that I think about this particular kind of, and it doesn't have to be this one. There are hundreds every season. The way I think of them, the way I think of how they're talking to the reader is, are you smart enough to figure out how I'm insulting you? And who wants to read a book like that? If that is the question that you're asking the reader,
Mom, did you write this?
It's not just that I'm insulting you, it's that I'm also being condescending to you. Are you smart enough to figure out how I'm insulting you? As opposed to a good murder mystery, which is, hey, I know who done it. I'm going to do my best to trick you. Are you smarter than me? You might be.
Right.
Are you smarter than I am?
Respect for an audience is what you're talking about. They respect it. Yeah, absolutely. There has to be a German or Japanese word for what you described. Are you smart enough to figure out how I'm insulting you? There has to be like I want a one word. I need the language to have that.
In the United States in 2024, the word is MAGA.
And with that, we move on to our next title. A woman who I regard
It's
as
so hard to keep me in control, ladies and gentlemen. He does. He tries so hard to do so.
that shock collar I sent. Did you come yet? I was curious if it. Okay, it's coming. It's in the mail. Amazon will deliver. Here's a woman who I regard as quite the opposite of what we were hinting at before. Very smart, and I'm growing to love everything she does. I'm especially her short fiction. Her short fiction is really starting to bowl me over, and she's wild. She's
wild.
She's wild.
We're talking about here about Butcher by
Joyce Carol Oates.
Is mind-bogglingly prolific and really good. Always really good. It's just you have to get into the register of her prose and the mind behind her prose.
Yeah.
The prose style never changes, and the mind behind the prose never changes either. So you have to get into that register. It's not hard to do. It's not a hard register to get into.
No.
But once you do, anything she writes is going to appeal to you. Anything.
I'm heading there. I'm heading there now. It's wild.
Enormously intelligent as a writer. She could condescend. She doesn't ever do that. Doesn't ever condescend. Tries her hands at all sorts of new things. Admittedly, some more effective than others, but that's what you want a writer to do.
Right.
And also, there's a particular little juice of pleasure for me that she played the game of those gigantic, horrible mid-century misogynists and outlived them all.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What I like about her too is that she is not afraid to roll around in the mud. Oh my Lord. Like I mean, she'll go to the deepest, darkest, cruddiest motels and tell you what's going on in room 8.
No, this Butcher is a perfect example.
Oh my Lord. I haven't read it yet. I just read The Flap, and The Flap shocked me.
Yeah. Yeah. If you watch an interview, you will see a bird-sized old woman who is your really well-spoken grandmother.
Yeah. Sure.
And then you read her books, and it's her books, regardless of their tone, regardless of their subject matter, they have always remained exactly what we talked about with Joanna Russ.
Yeah.
The fire-throwing young firebrand who had to work twice as hard to break in. In a genre at a time that was ruthlessly sexist.
Sure, absolutely.
She still writes like that.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to me. The wishy-washy, blue-haired Yaddo MFA crowd that is coming of literary age right now.
Yeah.
You manage to yank one short story collection out of the poor little daffodils, and the next time they write a book, if they write a book, it'll be so world-weary. Oh, my God. This literary grind. Talk to Joyce Carol Oates, why don't you? She has the fire that was in 2 of your 5 debut short stories. Had it for 150 years.
You know what's beautiful about, I always say modern authors, write basically for the movie rights because that's where the real money is. There will be no adaptation of this as far as I can tell, because how could you?
No. She takes a solid 2 months to decide on what her next project will be. She does not look back. She does not play the ponies. She does not look at the bestseller list. It takes about 2 months to decide her next project and then sits down and writes it.
Yeah. She also struggles to circ here, by the way, too. And I've been trying to sing her praises as much as I can to anybody who says, I need a good, you have some short stories. And I said, you need, her last 2 were just both great. I enjoyed them so much. So, yeah.
The patron that comes in saying, I think I'm a little cozied out. The last 5 books that I've read, I've enjoyed them all, but they've all been, I think I could read something more than this.
Something with teeth.
Something with a little more teeth.
Yeah.
Joyce Carol, this is a perfect thing to do.
Oh, yeah. That one Butcher seems fanged. So there we are. Another author I like very much as we wind down here. Walter Mosley. Little one from Walter Mosley called Touched. And there's very little that he's done that I haven't enjoyed, although I haven't read everything because he's really prolific too. What do you know about Touched? I don't know a darn thing about this. They just dropped.
I haven't read Touched.
Okay.
I read his brand new one, which I don't think it may not be out yet if you didn't order it. I know this is very bad for a critic to say, but I so love his signature character. I so love that signature series that Touch is a little bit more experimental from what I've gathered, but I haven't read it, so I don't know.
And he dabbles in sci-fi on occasion. I don't know if that's
he dabbles in lots of and he's really, really good. That's the important thing is he's really good. So I really don't have a reason why I haven't read it.
Sure. I love his prose. When I'm enveloped in his prose, I always feel like, wow, I'm really in the hands of somebody who commands narrative.
Yes, and he thinks about what he's doing.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to end big here. Let me see. I've got a few to pick from. Oh, why not? Wifedom. Mrs. Orwell's Invisible Life by Anna Funder. What do you got for me? This is a beast.
It is. Why would you order that?
I did not. I don't do nonfiction, Steve.
Okay, why would anyone order that for a library in Wisconsin? Why would anyone order that?
I don't know. It was probably featured on the Baker and Taylor main page or something.
It's a long, contentious, ideological novel about George Orwell's wife.
Yes,
is it going to sell at all? I mean, is it going to is anybody going to take that out of the library?
We're waiting. Someone is going to come in. Today's the day, Steve. I know it.
What? Well, okay. I know this is a horribly, woolly, sexist thing to ask, but contrasted with that, how does George Orwell do at the library?
1984 is circling almost weekly, I would say. Easily.
And you see the lesson there to our listeners and our YouTube viewers. Men are better than women.
Well, that's true. You know, it's nice. They ask questions like, has your product the natural color it deserves?
You want to flash up the ladies again.
That's probably true.
To keep us in line. And yes, exactly. Try saying men are better than women to them.
Once again,
they
seem terribly unamused. So wife, I mean, it's really interesting. Geraldine Brooks raved on the back that it's simply a masterpiece.
But it isn't. It isn't.
What was? Can you summarize in 2 sentences or less? What was Mrs. Orwell's deal?
I can summarize the flaw of the book.
Sure.
In 2 sentences or less.
I'll take it.
I can make a simple declaration. It's a simple declaration of fact. There is no arguing with it at all. And the only way that you can write this book or read it is if you do disagree with it, and you can't disagree with the sun rises in the morning. And that simple declaration of fact is that George Orwell is far more important historically than his wife.
Someone doesn't like that. Possibly someone named Anna Funder.
10 George Orwell biographies are fine. His wife is a largely insignificant figure. She can have a large part to play in any Orwell biography, but it won't be her biography. I mean, when historians look back in time to chronicle this show, they'll barely mention you.
Oh, now, see here. I must have a graphic. I don't have a graphic for that, damn it.
What graphic did
I've
you
exhausted everything. I do find it interesting that, number one, it's Mrs. Orwell and not like her full name, which I thought was very telling about like, oh, well, that speaks volumes about this book. Also, you know, we only get half of her on the cover.
Yeah.
So I feel like that might be a metaphor for this whole book. So who knows?
If I'm no mind reader, I would guess that both of those things are a metaphor not for the book, but for the author's contempt for one half of the humans on Earth. I'll leave the readers to guess what that half is.
Well, you know, I understand completely, and hopefully it'll do well. We need one circ on this thing. I was hoping today to,
but it won't do. I mean, I'm not in the library game, but it's just going to sit there.
It is going to sit there.
What could the nonfiction buyer have been thinking?
I'll talk to Sarah later today. Say, Steve wants to know what you were thinking.
Out of curiosity, I mean, half the books that you've showed me today, half these wild cards are not going to circulate at all. This time next year, they will have had maybe a trickle of interest, 2 or 3 people in a year.
And
what is the library's policy about that? You surely don't hold on to those, right? You do.
We do. Yeah.
Well, that's an odd feeling because on the one hand, you know, I would think you have your shelf space is precious, but on the other hand, I don't want Joanna Russ going out the door. So
you bring up something really interesting, and I'm going to use it as a segue to something else, and that is this is a great topic, and it's one that I'm keenly interested in, and that is a library collection and what it hopes to achieve in 2024 and beyond. And I think that'd be a great topic for a Patreon video, everybody.
Patreon exclusive video. A Patreon exclusive video.
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful idea.
Because it's really interesting. I wrestle with this daily, hourly, in that I bring in books. You want to bring in books that reflects the community that your library is in. But at the same time, is it a library's job to direct the community to think in different ways?
Let's make that a discussion for Patreon. I thought that our Patreon exclusive videos were only going to be me recounting my romantic adventures with Tallulah Bankhead.
Oh,
Who actually we could branch out.
Sure. Tallulah Bankhead, who played a villain on the old 1966 Batman show, which, again, I was a part of, clearly. Oh, my goodness gracious. Back to the Batcave for us. Anyway, this has been a wonderful show. I had a few more titles, but we'll get to them later on, I'm sure. It has been,
Wait, you can explain.
We said last week, of all the shows out there, this is definitely one of them. And there we are. Next week, we actually, here's a little teaser. We're going to review this. I'm sending a copy to Steve. Now, Bud Robinson clearly knows a lot about fun.
Yes.
So we'll do very well.
And a lot about Tallulah Bankhead. It leaves a look on the face. You can see it a mile away.
I took the picture right after Tallulah left his apartment. So, anyway, as always.
Maybe right before she got there.
We're just trashing Tallulah. I did not expect, again, that Tallulah would be such a large figure in today's show. A show that is funded and brought to you by a wonderful group, the Cedarburg Friends of the Cedarburg Public Library. And Steve had a pinky, yes?
Coincidentally enough, one of them also had a rather torrid past with Tallulah Bankhead.
We may get to the bottom of that next week, or according to these, it will be in color next week too. To let people know that it's a very exciting time here at Books of the Week. Patreon is up. I'll put the link down in this description below. I've never said that before. I think I'm a YouTuber now, Steve. I made it, Dad. I made it.
And we should stress that the proceeds go to the Friends of the Public Library.
Every nickel, every penny, contrary to what Steve said.
Those of you who don't know what your friends are, they are invaluable to your library. If you have a library that you love, they have a friends society, a group of friends of the library that do so much.
In the absence of friends, we don't. Yeah, in the absence of our friends group, we don't have heat in the winter. So,
yeah.
So thank you, everybody.
My producer can get by without friends, but your library can't.
I have proven that over 53 years.
Repeatedly proving that.
Absolutely. There we are. All right, everybody. That's a show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, as always, Steve. You bring so much, including the fact that you've read all this stuff. Take care and adios. Goodbye, everybody.